Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Sean Wren podcast. This is where I give you all the week's biggest movie news stories and reviews in 15 minutes or less. In this week's episode we'll be talking about Robert Downey Jr. joining Spider-Man Homecoming. Downey Jr. also talked about the third Sherlock Holmes movie. Blade Runner 2 has moved release dates. William Dafoe has joined the Justice League. And there'll be some trailer talk. And finally, there is a review of Jane Got a Gun, a western starring Natalie Portman, Joel Edgerton and Hugh McGregor. Now, in the famous words of PJ and Duncan, let's get ready to rumble.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Let's get ready, let's get ready, let's get ready to rumble. Watch us wreck the mic, watch us wreck the mic, watch us wreck the mic. Psych.
First up, Robert Downey Jr. is joining Spider-Man Homecoming. This makes a lot of sense because all the news that I've been hearing coming out of Civil War is how great Peter Parker and Iron Man's relationship is in Civil War. However, I do feel kind of mixed because they could have waited until Civil War came out in the States. I mean, we get it next week. Civil War is released next week, and in America it's in 2 weeks. So they could have waited after May to say, look, Robert Downey Jr. is joining Spider-Man. However, I don't think it's a spoiler that Iron Man survives Civil War. And I think in Homecoming we'll be seeing a lot of Iron Man training Spider-Man, in a sense that it's going to be a master and apprentice sort of relationship. Because I think after Infinity Wars Part 1 or 2, Iron Man's going to die. And then after that film, Spider-Man will take up his mantle. However, after the announcement of Downey Jr. joining Spider-Man Homecoming, it was revealed by Deadline that Michael Keaton will not be taking part as the film's villain, after falling out in early negotiations, which is a shame because I would have loved to see Keaton join the Spider Universe as a villain because I think he can be a really great villain. And now I'll keep my fingers crossed to see if he comes back to the DC Universe in some capacity. Now, during the press tour of Civil War, Downey Jr. also talked about the chances of a third Sherlock Holmes movie, telling Shortlist magazine will attempt to make one this year. This is great news to hear because I was a fan of the first film. Granted, I can't remember what exactly happened in the second film, but I want to see Downey Jr. and Jude Law as Sherlock and Watson again. Now, it also depends on what happens with Guy Ritchie if he's available to direct, because at the moment he's filming Knights of the Round Table, the origins of King Arthur. But if he's not available, then someone else will obviously take the mantle. And I just want to see if they can just keep the same sort of tone what they had for the previous two films, because if I remember rightly, they were kind of more humorous than what we've seen on the BBC drama. Elsewhere, if you're a fan of the original Blade Runner, you'll be pleased to hear that the sequel will be coming to you sooner than originally planned, as the 18th of January 2018 release date has been scrapped, and now the film will be moving up 4 whole months to the 6th of October 2017. This is a smart move because January is normally known as a dumping ground, so moving it to October puts it in a prime location for it to be a bigger draw in the box office. It will also be up against an untitled Marvel Fox film, most likely going to be Deadpool 2, and if it is, then it's sadly going to be the truth that Deadpool 2 is going to absolutely smash at the box office. But I think cult fans of Blade Runner will make it more interesting in the box office race domestically in the States. Also, there's no news on a release date here for the UK, but if anything changes, and I think that it probably will, then I will keep you posted via my Twitter. Next up, it wouldn't be a Sean Wren podcast if I didn't talk a little bit about the DC Cinematic Universe. And the biggest news this week is that William Dafoe, the legend that is William Dafoe, is joining Justice League as a quote-unquote good guy, and his role has been kept under lock and key. This is great news to hear because this bloke's a fucking legend, and I would have secretly loved to see him play a villain. I mean, he could have a great voice for Darkseid, but if he is playing a good guy, then a lot of people have been speculating who he could be. And the top two that I quite like is that he could be John Jones, who is aka the Martian Manhunter, or he could be playing an older version of Ted Kord, who is a wealthy businessman. I mean, levels of Bruce Wayne, Lex Luthor wealthy, and has Kord Industries. He also was the original Blue Beetle, so they could do something similar to what happened in Ant-Man and Michael Douglas's character. Or who's not to say he's playing an original character, much like Holly Hunter did in Batman vs Superman. All these answers will most likely be answered once the official press release comes out, and I'm guessing that will come out most likely around about Comic-Con time. Now let's wrap up the news to talk about some trailers, and I picked out 3 in particular, and that is Jason Bourne, The Girl on the Train, and The Magnificent Seven. So let's begin with The Girl on the Train, and I really enjoyed this trailer. It was tense, it was gripping, it reminds me a lot of Gone Girl, and even though I haven't sat to watch Gone Girl yet, I've got it on Blu-ray, and I just haven't got around to watching it yet. I know. And I got the same sort of feeling that I did watching the first Gone Girl trailer than as I did with this. And I know this is a very popular book amongst people who read. I don't read because I'm dyslexic and lazy. But this looks like another great performance by Emily Blunt, and I cannot wait to see this film. Be sure to check out the trailer, and The Girl on the Train comes out the 7th of October. Next up is Jason Bourne, and I thought this trailer was fucking incredible. The action was brilliant, it gave us a great plot, and it's just simpler to say Jason Bourne is back, and he's breaking noses, breaking faces, and taking names. He knows exactly what's happening now in his life. He remembers everything. Even though I haven't seen the previous 4 films, this is the one that may actually take me to the cinema to watch it, and even watch the previous ones. And with Paul Greengrass coming back to direct Matt Damon, I cannot see this film failing. And it also stars Alicia Vikander, who can do no wrong in my eyes, and also Tommy Lee Jones. And I enjoy seeing Tommy Lee Jones in more of the authority figure type roles now. And yeah, I mean, just check out the trailer and you will see how great of an action film this will be. And Jason Bourne comes out on the 29th of July. Last but not least is the remake of The Magnificent Seven, starring Denzel Washington, Chris Pratt, Ethan Hawke, and many more. If you don't know what The Magnificent Seven is about, it's about a group of outlaws going down to defend a town in the West. And I really enjoyed this trailer. I mean, it didn't tell us a lot, it was only a teaser trailer, but what we saw is that Chris Pratt is going to have obviously a lot of humour in this role, and it's going to have a great lot of action in it. I just want to watch a longer trailer to understand what's going to happen and see how these characters interact with one another. But I can't wait, and it looks like it could be a revival in the Western, because so far modern day Westerns are pretty shit, and I'm going to be talking about one right now. And The Magnificent Seven comes out on the 23rd of September. Out in UK cinemas today is Jane Got a Gun, a Western starring Natalie Portman, Joel Edgerton and Ewan McGregor, and it tells a story about a woman defending her family from a gang of killers. Here's a clip.
Jane! Putting a bullet in your boyfriend.
You gonna shoot me in the back like a coward you are?
It appears she's left you once again, Mr. Frost.
You so much as flinch and I will blow your head off. Drop him. Now!
Now, Jane.
You don't even want to know what a mother comes up with when someone kills their child. Shooting you didn't even make my list. It's too kind.
This film had so many issues before shooting even begun, and you can check them out in my written review in the description below. But to be truly honest, I'm not going to spend a lot of time reviewing this film, because it was boring, it was bland, and so predictable it was untrue. And it's nothing against the cast, it's a talented cast, but the script was so basic by the numbers, it was pointless for them to do it. It could have just been released on home video and no one would have cared. The only redeeming thing about this film was Ewan McGregor, because he played the villain in such a cartoony way, it was enjoyable to watch. But to be truly honest, if you want to go to the cinema this weekend, see The Jungle Book, or save your money and wait until Civil War comes out. That's how bad this film is. And I don't mean to be so horrible against this film, it's just that it's so dull and boring it doesn't deserve your time. But if you do go and see it and enjoyed it, please let me know via my Twitter @Sean_Wren. Well, that's your lot for this week. If you're listening to this on YouTube, be sure to check out my written review of Jane Got a Gun in the description below. And if you're listening to this on my blog, the Sean Wren blog, all the trailers I talked about will be below this podcast. And please let me know what you thought at my Twitter @Sean_Wren. That is SHAUN_WREN. And I'll see you soon. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.